make sure the live's on. Make sure my volume's down. All right. Let's go over SPY since we have it up here and rolling. Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather. So, as you see, SPY is very strong across the board. Let me turn off the volume indication so you can see a little better. As you see, SPY's uptrending here. It's a nice little uptrend that it's got going on. It's in that nice little channel. Every time it's come up, it's come down. Every time it's touched the top of that trend line, it's come down. Excuse me. So, what are we looking at here? What are we charting up? So, we've seen the top of last week's candle to be at 609.07. So if we mark up 609.7, that is our all-time high. I like to make it pink, just better for my eyes. ATH for me is all-time highs, just abbreviated. So I would look for a break and hold above that 609 to be confident in making new all-time highs. So we would need to simply break and hold 609. So break, hold, come back down into 609 for us to make another move higher. All right, now we're just going to mark up our levels on the chart. Let's go down to the daily. We see a little gap here from 583. So basically call it 584. And let's make sure that that is a different color. Let's do the gap. Let's do the gap blue. Right here. And let's put gap fill below. And here we'll put end of gap. So we see these two gaps here on this little gap here on the daily, not the two gaps, excuse me. Knowing that that was last week's high, and if we go Monday, this was last week's low. As you see, it went back up and tested Monday, November 11th's high. Finally tested that and it broke above, as you see it there. So what we're going to look for in this scenario is very simple. We're going to look for a pullback into this previous all-time high that it was back in November, Monday 11th. We're going to look for this to come back into this area, into this 601 Let's make it green. 602. We want to see SPY come right back down to this little area. Show us confirmation. So I'll draw it. I want to see it. SPY come down. Show us confirmations. So show some buyers down here for another leg up into this all-time high. That'd be my main focus. Break and hold above that. If we break and hold above 609, that should correlate with SPX. Oh, my laptop froze for a second. Should correlate with SPX 6100. If we break and hold above that 609, that should correlate with that 6100, which would give us another big huge psychological level for another leg higher, a continuation basically. So that's a big level that we have there. That 609 610 would be that resistance that we have up here. We'll go up to a whole dollar up in this level here. So let's make that red. Nice psychological round number. There's so definitely some people that are going to put some puts up here. Alright, that's our main focus for the upside. For a bounce level, excuse me. For the upside, we would basically like to see a break and hold above this 609, ideally even 610. See it push above that, come down and retest that zone that we have here. That little dollar zone, for sure, would be very nice. For the downside, I'm not too interested here on SPY. But if we fail this 609, if we're going back up there and fail the 609, and then we come down and fail this, we come down and fail the 609, we could take a mini ride down below the 605 level here, 606. Kind of like right here. If it breaks that right there, I'll change it into a different color so you could see it a little better. Probably purple. If it breaks and holds below 606, 605.5 around there, you could take this leg down to this 602, 601 for a bounce. But to be confident onto the downside, I would need this to break and hold below 600 for us to ideally start seeing a move to fill that gap, that daily gap that we have down here at that 584, 583, all the way down to that 576, 577 level. But right now what we're looking at is a bounce here at the 601, 602, or a break and hold above the 609, 610. We can take very quick scalps for puts if it gives us confirmation below that 606, 605. That's what we have going on SPY. And now let's go over to QQQ. And let's clear the chart first. That was old levels. Now here on QQQ, we did close into all-time highs. We made all-time highs on QQQ on Friday, as you see here. It's brand new all-time highs. It's never been higher than it has before, as you see. And it's also doing kind of this wedge, uptrend wedge that we have going on here, right here. If you draw a line, basically right there, I'll draw a line for you. It's pretty much the same. It's very rough lines, excuse me, but it's basically riding this wedge. Every time it touches that trend line up top, as you've seen it come down, but it's been rising up. It's been creating higher lows. As you see, this is low, there, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low, higher low, and it's still trending on, still trending up. Excuse me. And excuse me if you hear my son behind me. But basically here what we're looking for is a high risk pullback. I know it, ideally you don't want to go into a high risk pullback, but this 524, wrong tool, excuse me. This 524 right here is just a very nice level. Let me make this green. It's just a very, very, very nice level. You've seen it's very clean. This was the all-time highs. It broke, came down on Friday, tested it, and kind of just held above it. I want to see QQQ react to that 524. Ideally, I'd love it to be up here in the morning, but we'll see. My main watch here, honestly, would be this 520, this little nook down here. This 520 to 518, where you have that little gap down there. Right here. That would just my main pullback. So I'm literally looking for this to come down, pull back into this area, show confirmation for another leg higher. That'd be the ideal scenario. And before we forget, let's mark that all-time high, of course, and mark it. All-time high right there. So that's what we have going on right there on QQQ. A nice pullback into that area, into that 520, 518-ish. We can see it come down to this 516, where calls will still be valid. As you see, this level here is very, very crucial. Still, this 516, 514 would be the another zone. So if you grab some contracts that are a little bit more out of, not out of the money, contracts that are more, with more time, excuse me. If you grab some contracts that have definitely more time, probably like 2 weeks out or something like that, that would be ideal to grab some for this little area here, this 514 to 520. It's a big zone that it has, but it has a lot of buyers at these levels here. That being said, for the downside, I do see us, if we break and hold below this 520, 518, I do see us testing these levels at the 514, 516 if we do break and hold below here. And if we get below that, then we're going to see lower. But right now, momentum and everything has been up. So it's either we come down here, test this 518, 520, look for that confirmation, get in, take it for the next leg higher, start selling up here, or break and hold above this 526.7, so call it 527 for break and hold, and you could basically look for this to go up to at least 529, 530. Nice psychological round number if you want to hold all that, but you should definitely make your profit before that. But that would be it right there. That's what we're looking for on QQQ. And what I'm focusing here on individual names, I really like how Tesla has been moving. Let's erase these here. This is all part of this is all going to be part of the watch list for Monday. You could basically just come in here and grab these same levels. So Tesla, the main plan here would be a pullback into this. It's a little bit big, the pullback area. I mean, you see it here, 370. Actually, let's make this green. Excuse me. This 370 level here up to this 380. It's really, that's literally the level where I would love for this to come back down, retest this zone here. That's the main focus that I want to look at. But ideally, this 400 here, make sure, a break and hold above this 400. I would love to see that. So I would love to see Tesla come up, break and hold this 400, and we could take it on the next leg higher. Or for it to come down here, I'll definitely scale in to this 380 to 370. It's a big scale in, so you would just basically look for confirmation any level down here. But that's the zone, that 370 to 380. Tomorrow, after pre-market, you would definitely get better levels. See how it's moved in the morning, if it's come down a little closer to it. But Tesla, that 370, 380 for a bounce for sure looks really good. Even a swing entry down there would be really nice. You could swing some calls. But I definitely see if we break and hold above this 400, we have room on Tesla. Let me see if I could see it back here. We have room on Tesla all the way up to this, what is it, 417 if I'm correct. Last I seen 415. We have room up to that 415 right there. So that right there is the all-time high on Tesla, if I'm correct. And that was back in November of 2021. That's the all-time high there. So we're very, very close to hitting these all-time highs again. So we break and hold above that 400. I'd love for this to keep going all the way up to that 415. We break and hold above that. It's all-time highs, and we're pushing with SPY and QQQ for sure with that momentum. But as you see here, this is the big zone that I'm looking at. I'd love to grab some calls here, even some long-term shares if you don't have any. It's a great area to add some here at this 380, 370. It's very, very nice. And of course, even down here at this 360, which is like another zone that it has. What we're looking at now, we're also going to look at Adobe. They have earnings this week. It's the only one that I would trade. That I do hold some Costco for long term, but it's very, very rare for me to day trade Costco or even swing trade Costco. I do just hold the shares. I really like their stock to hold for shares. But Costco, if you don't own it, you go there all the time. Use Kirkland products, stuff like that. They're great. They are great. All right, Adobe. I tend to not trade Adobe as much, only when I see big relative strength. Like you see it here starting to fill this gap that it has here, showing some relative strength. This chart is usually kind of like everywhere, but with earnings coming up, and that big break on Friday, you see that candle last week on Adobe. It was just huge. It has this big gap, as you see on the daily, that it needs to fill. I'd love for this to I'd love for it to catch momentum and we ride that momentum all the way up to that 570. So basically, let's see what we're looking at. Let's show you my levels here. So basically, the game plan here is to look for a pullback into this 540. Sorry, make that green. I'm so used to trading on the white. Look for a pullback into that 540, 537 area. This little zone right here, tiny zone that it has here. You could also grab some a little bit sooner. If you want, I would say probably this 542, kind of the top of this guy here on Monday. You could ideally grab some there for some starters. But my big zone is that 540, 537 where it completely fills that gap. And then you could, take it for that next leg higher. Your first target should be at these highs, and then the second target would be higher. So your runner should be higher on that right there. A break and hold above this 554. If we don't get it in the pre-market, that's what we'll be looking at. A break and hold above that, and we could target this 560 right here. I know I'm a few cents off, but this is what you would look for. Either a pullback into this 537, 540. Look for that confirmation. First big, huge trim. Leave runners 100% up here. And you just leave the runners to go from there. Or we want to see a break, hold, come down and retest this 554. And we could take it for the next leg up to that 560. So that's what I have on Adobe. We'll see in the morning as well. We'll adjust as is. And now I'm actually looking at Amazon as well. And this would be the last stock that I'm looking at before the market open, or before I check in the morning, I should say. But as you see, we have here Amazon just skyrocketing, creating all-time highs. It's a freight train. Look at this. This thing is just moving. If you zoom out, this is beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that. It broke all this with nice volume. You see it here. The volume for the day was volume for the week, 205.8 million. It's really, really good. Like, just look at the daily. This thing is a skyrocket. It's a freight train, basically. Think about it like that. This thing is just moving. So, what we're looking for here, we're looking for this to push back above and do a break and hold, and the same bounce is what we're looking for. So everything is telling us that it is going to go higher. So we are going to ride the momentum, because momentum is our friend. So we are not going to trade against it. What we're looking for here is a pullback into this 220 down to this 222. This little zone that we have here. And let's mark this up here. A break and hold above this 227 if it permits. And we'll target that 230. Right there. For sure. But basically here we're looking for Amazon come down, clear all this noise that it has here. All that noise. So we wanted to come down, test this 222 to 220, look for that confirmation, and do the exact same thing. Grab some calls down here.